I'm delighted that for this second edition of TWC Soundbites, I'm joined today by Sales and Marketing Director of Unitas Wholesale, John Kinney. John, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Pleasure. Good afternoon.
Right, hopefully we will do this short and sharp in about 10 minutes, if that's okay. And I'm just going to run through, for me, this is about trying to understand what's going on across the industry when we're not really able to get out and about for ourselves and see it firsthand. And for Unitas, which has 28% of the market, so it's the largest wholesaler by market share according to the IGD, with a plethora of food service, on-trade and retail wholesalers, you are totally at the sharp end of this at the moment. So would you mind sharing with people, please, what your members are experiencing at the moment?
Yeah, I think the important point is what you said. It's not just about the size of the group, it's about the diversity of the group's membership. So, you know, a significant number of our members play in the out-of-home market. And they are seriously impacted by this, and also obviously on the on-trade side of the food service side. So those guys are in a pretty dire situation. There may be still some business going through if they are working with some, you know, servicing contracts to hospitals, etc. But generally, a lot of those businesses have seen significant members of their staff furloughed, mothballed a lot of their operation, and are in a pretty poor situation. The other members, you then have the members who play in both. They play in the out-of-home and the retail. So fortunately for those, they can still keep a fair chunk of their business going because they're servicing retail. And obviously you've got the members who are dedicated to retail. And they've seen their business going through a bit of a wave. You know, initially it was the panic buying. It was everybody was grabbing anything they possibly could. And they saw massive amounts of footfall and massive amounts of sales spike therefore. That's slowed down a little bit. I think it's fair to say we've moved into the next phase where, you know, retailers have gotten now into a system of purchase and what range is available to them. So we're now managing how we trade in the current norm, if there is such a thing. But we've certainly seen retail guys pick up a lot of business, but we're not generally across all retail. So obviously walk-in trade of impulse has been severely impacted. You know, if you are going to that shop once every couple of days or ordering it online, whatever, you're probably buying a six-pack of crisps or a large bar of the pound blocks, etc., of chocolates rather than individuals. So we're seeing a mixture of what is selling. But we're certainly seeing, you know, booze, BWS increasing, fresh foods very poor. We haven't got a great supply coming through of fresh and chilled foods into stores. But generally, the retail members are coping. Their biggest challenge at the moment really is getting the right amount of supply coming into them and looking after the welfare of their own employees, be they on the road delivering or in the depots. You know, their challenge is managing this with the resource they've got and dealing with the fluctuation of the customer base. You know, the regular order pattern is out the window at the moment. People are buying whatever's available. So it's very hard to manage and foresee those forecasts in orders.
And are members helping each other at this time? I mean, as a buying group, it's always a strange, slight dynamic, but is there group collaboration currently for the sort of not so fortunate versus the fortunate?
Yeah, I'm proud to say that the members have reacted very positively with each other through this. We've, as the central team, we've tried to, you know, facilitate that situation. Right from the word go, we try to be the conduit of all communication. So we have subcommittees across food service, on trade and retail, and we've held regular conference calls with those members. And interestingly, then you'll hear a lot of those members talking to each other, initially be it points of contact or who to speak to in suppliers for help in certain areas, but then it's helping each other. We've had some members offload some of their resource of people to help another member, because if they did an on-trade, they'd literally close their doors. They didn't need to furlough the people. Another member wanted to take those people on, which is great. And we've seen that from some stock movement as well. So rather than stock sitting going out of date in a food service non-trade member, it's been bought by a retail-facing member. So experience has been good. They've been helping each other with information, with contacts, with how to deal with situation, even where they are neck and neck trading with each other in the same city. We've still seen that camaraderie between themselves as, you know, they still work to help each other. They don't want to see their colleagues suffer in this respect. They're still businessmen. They've still got their own business to look after. But it has been good to see the openness of the members supporting each other.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I'm presuming that the role at the centre has changed through this process in terms of what you're needing to do to support the members at this time versus what you would have done under normal circumstances.
Yeah, I think our priorities have changed. There's certain activities that are not appropriate, so we've parked at the moment. There may be things in the background for the longer term. Well, that's not a key thing at the moment. The important thing is about giving our members information to help them through the situation, to make sure some of the business as usual still carries on, whether that's terms negotiations if they're up for annual review, whether that's promotional strategies that we need to keep the promotions flowing, whether that's chasing the money through invoice and overrider earnings for our members to make sure they've got the money filtering down to them to keep going. It's been the core part of the business. So, you'd say is that you gather around and you stop doing the peripheral activities and you focus on the core. And in some of those areas, certainly from a retail development point of view, we took the people off the road in the early days. We're not developing stores. We furloughed a significant member of the retail team in respect to that. And that means that everybody else, picks up an extra few percent workload. Obviously, we're at home where we're working. That sometimes can be very efficient, but it sometimes can make those odd little conversations that you'd have in the office. It's a bit more difficult. You have to put the phone call in, wait till they're free to get their information. But it changes the way we work. But I think fundamentally we tried to facilitate communication. We've had some great feedback coming from the FWD, the SWA, the ACS, filtering that information out to our members, especially just simple things like how furloughing works and how the grant processes work, to get that information out to our members, be seen then to be helping them on supply information, what's available, what's not available. When price marks have been deprioritised over straight pack from some suppliers, making sure our members are aware how to place their orders, etc. So, we've tried to be the support mechanism through this wherever possible.
I know it's tricky, having worked in a central office, that you're trying to run as fast as the members are running and trying to keep up. And on a smaller team, I'm sure that's incredibly challenging.
Yeah, and it is sometimes trying to second guess what the member wants from you. You don't want to be a nuisance to the member by sending them stuff that's not important and then just thinking, well, I don't want all these emails, I don't need these phone calls. It's trying to understand what situation are they in and what do they need from you at this moment in time. Is it help and support and guidance? And if it isn't, if it's some other things, then speak to them. It's these regular committee phone calls that we've been having, trying to find out what's the state of play, what are your challenges now, what do you need from the group now, to make sure when we're being supportive and not being a nuisance. In some cases, it's very easy to make that mistake sometimes.
And I guess as your data partner, TWC, we've found that your logins for suppliers, members and members of central office staff has gone up exponentially as people try to understand what's actually selling through at this time. So is technology helping you as a group, both locally and centrally? Yeah,
very much so. Again, one of the other conference calls that we have is a regular meeting with a lot of suppliers. So we have our supplier council, and the point you just made was made by quite a few of those suppliers on the call, is that the data now is really helpful to see what sort of trends they can see, what is happening in the marketplace. It gives them that national view of what's going on. So certainly even they admitted, because they now have some more time, they're at home, they're not on the road, they are analysing data to help them foresee where this is going. So that's been a positive. And certainly technology in general. I think, the word we never knew before was Zoom. Now we're all familiar with Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And you start looking at these things and sometimes you think, well, why weren't we doing this before? Why did it need this to drive us into realising that we don't need to drive 100 miles to have a meeting, we can do it over here? It challenges your skills. The skills that you would have in negotiating with somebody on the other side of the table when you're there physically in the room with them are slightly different to when you're on a call. But that just challenges you to develop new skills and to judge situations differently over a telephone call or an email. But certainly data is coming into its own. When you haven't got that member's business in front of you to talk to, the data helps you understand what is going on. It doesn't necessarily give you the complete answer, but it can help you on that journey to give you support of some of those questions and some of the decisions you need to make.
This sounds like a strange question, but I guess you've mentioned the video conferencing new norm. So are there positive things that have evolved through this crisis that actually have benefited Unitas as a group, and kind of you're doing things differently but maybe better?
Yeah, I think we obviously spent less money on petrol. Well, I think that, and I jest a little bit, but there's a serious point there that it does challenge how much time we do spend on the road, doing things that can be done this way. As I say, sometimes that human touch does make a difference. I wouldn't suggest that we will completely now rely on conference call communication going forward, but you can certainly subsidise what we're doing with less time on the road, less efficient meetings, and more through this process. So certainly video conferencing has come to its own. And just the challenging of how long sometimes we spend doing things. Again, when you look at some of the peripheral activities, when you cut to the heart of it, when you're in your own isolated in a situation like this, working at home, sometimes you're making decisions. You think, well, I'm not going to run that past 2 or 3 people. I just need to get on with it and do it. So it does sometimes challenge the way you do things, but what's important is that you still communicate the outputs. We still can't work as silos in this situation. It'd be easy to fall into that trap. So we need to set up a more structured way of how we work and communicate. But certainly technology has helped tremendously. We were fortunate, I guess, to a certain degree within Unitas that we made the call quite early in this process to make sure everybody had the facility to work from home, had access to our central platforms, all had laptops, had the company phones. We had planned to sort of dress rehearse the situation, and the government pulled the plug on that plan a little bit earlier than we anticipated. But fortunately, we're in that position where everybody overnight was up and running from home, which was great. So it was good work by the team to make sure we were able to do that. But yeah, we've had new employees who, we've had to make sure we're putting calls into them and video calls to get them embedded into the team culture where you can technology-wise. But yeah, there has been some good to come out of this and challenging the old ways of working, I would say.
So do you think central office will be less office-centric going forward?
Well, you could say, could it be more centrally based rather than out and about more? We've had several discussions already about when we return to the norm, whatever that norm may be, how much of the way we work now would we continue already? So yeah, I do see changes. That doesn't mean to say a reduction in headcount in that way. It just means more effective working and challenging some of the ways we do things to make sure, do we need 3 meetings to get that through? When you've only got a half an hour and a call, get to the point, let's get the meeting done and dusted and move on. So I think decision making gets a little bit more precise and concise.
Thank you so much for your time and for the insights you've given us. I really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure. And the one thing I would say in closing to all our suppliers is keep talking to us, keep the communication flow going. We need to, as much as you're asking me questions about how our members are operating, we need to understand from the suppliers what's coming down the line. Where are they on their supply of stock, rationalisation of range, etc. This information is so important that we can cascade that onto our members. So any suppliers that are listening, please keep the communication flow going and keep the support to this sector going. This could be a watershed moment for independent retailers as we come out of this, of how well they have performed in their local communities, that people will see independent retailers in a different light. So we need to make sure we maximise this opportunity with availability of stock and professionally managing our way through this situation that could be like this for several months yet to come. So this is, it's not the end. We're at the start of the next phase now, and we'll see how long this phase works. But thank you very much.